top 10 tsunamis ever recorded in history. Tsunamis are terrifying. They make us think about the sheer force hidden beneath the ocean's surface. But have you wondered which tsunami holds the record for the highest wave ever recorded? Which of them has taught us the most valuable lessons about disaster preparedness? And perhaps most importantly, what lessons can we draw from the past to better prepare for future tsunamis? In today's video, we're going to explore the causes, impacts, and lessons learned from the top 10 tsunamis ever recorded in history. Number 1. South Chile, May 22, 1960. The first one on our list is the colossal earthquake and tsunami that shocked the world on May 22, 1960. It was basically a seismic monster, measuring a staggering MW 9.5. In fact, it's the largest of all recorded earthquakes. This tsunami struck off the coast of southern Chile, sending shockwaves not just locally, but rippling across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. It wreaked havoc in Hawaii, Japan, and the Philippines. The aftermath was nothing short of devastating. In Chile alone, the toll was staggering, between 490 and 5,700 souls lost, with a whopping 2 million left homeless. The damage? A staggering $550 million. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Hawaii felt the wrath with 61 lives lost, 43 injuries, and a hefty $23.5 million in damages. Even the U.S. West Coast wasn't spared. It suffered an additional $1 million in damages, along with 2 fatalities and 4 injuries from the 1 to 2 meter waves that pounded its shores. Japan, with its resilient spirit, faced the tsunami's fury almost a day later. It witnessed 139 heartbreaking deaths and the obliteration of nearly 3,000 homes. And across the Philippine archipelago, at least 21 souls were swept away by the relentless force of nature. Now let's talk waves. We're not talking about gentle lapping here. We're talking about monstrous walls of water. These weren't mere ripples. They were towering giants, crashing down with terrifying force. This catastrophe spurred the birth of the International Tsunami Warning System of the Pacific, or ITSU, in 1965. It was a global effort to mitigate the impact of future tsunamis. Number 2. Ryukyu Island, April 24, 1771. It was April 24, 1771, when the peaceful shores of the Ryukyu Islands were shattered by a catastrophic event that would go down in history. It was a day like any other until the earth beneath them began to tremble violently. What followed was a tsunami of unimaginable proportions. It was triggered by a powerful earthquake. The magnitude of this earthquake is estimated to have been between 7.4 and 7.9. Homes were swept away, villages submerged, and lives tragically lost in the blink of an eye. The toll of this disaster was staggering. Reports suggest that between 12,000 to 15,000 souls perished in the fury of the tsunami. The overall damage caused by the Ryukyu Island tsunami of 1771 is estimated to have amounted to millions in today's currency. Talking about the force of waves, some of them were towering as high as 25 meters, or 82 feet in some areas. In the aftermath of the disaster, governments acted quickly to provide aid and support to the affected communities. Relief efforts were launched to provide food, shelter, and medical assistance to the survivors, many of whom had lost everything they owned. Resources poured in from neighboring regions and beyond, as the magnitude of the devastation became apparent. But it wasn't just governments that sprang into action. Communities banded together to support one another and rebuild amidst the ruins. Number 3. North Japan, March 11, 2011. And now, we're talking about one of the most devastating natural disasters in recent history, the Great East Japan Earthquake of March 11, 2011. This earthquake registered between MW 9.0 to 9.1 and wreaked havoc in the Pacific Ocean, just 72 kilometers east of the Oshika Peninsula in the Tohoku region of Japan. Lasting about 6 minutes, it triggered a tsunami of huge proportions. Reports suggest they surged to heights of up to 40.5 meters, or 133 feet, in Miyako, Iwate Prefecture, and raced towards the Sendai area at a speed of 700 kilometers per hour, or 435 miles per hour. These waves were taller than a 10-story building. Residents of Sendai, caught off guard, had a mere 8 to 10 minutes to flee to safety. But for many, escape was impossible. More than 100 evacuation sites were destroyed. As the tsunami struck, temperatures dropped around freezing, which hampered rescue efforts. In Ishinomaki, one of the hardest hit areas, the temperature dropped to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Official figures released in 2021 revealed that 19,759 lives were lost, 6,242 were injured, and 2,553 individuals were still missing. In addition, over 228,000 people were forced to flee their homes. But the devastation didn't end there. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster was triggered by the tsunami, and the economic toll was equally catastrophic. Early estimates placed insured losses at a staggering $14.5 to $34.6 billion, while the World Bank pegged the total economic cost at $235 billion, which makes it the costliest natural disaster in history. Number 4. Sanriku, Japan, June 15, 1896. Next on our list is the 1896 Sanriku earthquake, also known as the Meiji Sanriku Jishin. At 1932 local time, an earthquake with a magnitude of 8.5 struck approximately 166 kilometers off the coast of Iwate Prefecture on the island of Honshu. But the earthquake was just the beginning of the nightmare. It resulted in 2 towering tsunami waves that crashed onto the shores, wreaking havoc in their wake. The waves, reaching a then record height of 38.2 meters, swallowed up everything in their path. Around 9,000 homes were destroyed, and the death toll soared to at least 22,000 souls. Preventive coastal measures were virtually non-existent at the time. It wasn't until another devastating tsunami struck in 1933 that preventive coastal measures were finally implemented. By then, awareness of the tsunami threat had grown, resulting in fewer casualties compared to the 1896 disaster. Number 5. Nankaido, Japan, October 28, 1707. On October 28, 1707, off the coast of Nankaido, Japan, the world witnessed an earthquake of staggering magnitude, estimated to be between 8.6 and 9.0. It triggered a tsunami of epic proportions that swept across the coast of Japan's Honshu Island, leaving devastation in its wake. The power of the earthquake was felt far and wide, destroying southwestern Honshu, Shikoku, and southeastern Kyushu. Entire villages were erased, homes reduced to rubble, and lives forever changed. The death toll was staggering, with an estimated 30,000 souls lost to the merciless waves. But it wasn't just the coastal areas that experienced the result of this tsunami. The tsunami's reach extended up to 4 kilometers inland. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters in Japanese history. It destroyed 29,000 homes and unleashed at least one major landslide, the Oya Slide in Shizuoka, burying a vast area under millions of cubic meters of debris. But perhaps most ominously, the earthquake possibly triggered the last eruption of Mount Fuji, Japan's iconic volcano. 49 days later, the volcano erupted on December 16, 1707. Number 6. Krakatoa, Indonesia, August 27, 1883. On August 27, 1883, the world witnessed the eruption of the Krakatoa volcano in Indonesia. This wasn't just any volcanic eruption. It was a seismic event that would leave a lasting mark on history. The eruption resulted in a powerful tsunami, towering up to 30 meters high, which surged through the Sunda Strait with devastating force. It claimed the lives of approximately 36,000 people and wiped out 165 coastal villages on the island of Java and Sumatra. But the impact of the eruption wasn't confined to Indonesia. The atmospheric disturbances it caused transferred energy into the ocean, which set off sea level disturbances that were recorded on tide gauges more than 7,000 kilometers away. In New Zealand, the tsunami was observed at multiple locations around the country, with reports of surges first emerging late in the evening of August 28th, nearly 30 hours after the eruption. These surges, likely at their peak the following morning, persisted for over 24 hours in some areas. The eastern seaboard of New Zealand, from Maunganui in the North Island to Port Chalmers in the South Island, bore the brunt of the tsunami's impact. While the waves typically measured less than 1.2 meters above sea level, some areas experienced surges exceeding 1 meter, including Maunganui, Warkworth, Waitemata Harbor, the Coromandel Peninsula, Whangara, Banks Peninsula, and Oamaru. These effects, among the largest recorded worldwide outside the immediate zone of the eruption, underscored the far-reaching reach of Krakatau's devastation. The eruption itself was nothing short of apocalyptic. It began on May 20th and peaked on August 27th, when over 70% of the island of Krakatau and its surrounding archipelago were destroyed as they collapsed into a caldera. The explosion was so immense that it was heard over 3,000 kilometers away in Perth, Western Australia, and Rodriguez near Mauritius. The acoustic pressure wave it generated circumnavigated the globe more than 3 times, leaving a wake of destruction in its path. Number 7. South China Sea, June 2, 1782. And on June 2, 1782, the South China Sea was hit by a calamity that is remembered to this day. On that day, an earthquake caused a tsunami that was gigantic. With a force that could only be described as biblical, waves as high as mountains surged forth from the depths. These towering walls of water crashed onto the coastline with a deafening roar. The death toll was catastrophic. Over 40,000 souls perished. Entire communities were destroyed, homes swept away like mere grains of sand, as the tsunami spared nothing in its path. What makes this tragedy all the more haunting is the distance from the shore at which it struck. Despite being a staggering 75 miles away from land, the tsunami's reach knew no bounds, demonstrating the sheer power and unpredictability of nature's wrath. Though details about the earthquake magnitude that triggered the tsunami may be scarce, its impact on the lives of those it touched is undeniable. Number 8. Messina, Italy, December 27, 1908. Having said that, let's travel back to December 28, 1908, when southern Italy was hit by the Messina earthquake and tsunami. At around 5:20 a.m. local time, the earth shook beneath the Strait of Messina, lasting for over 20 agonizing seconds. The earthquake registered a staggering magnitude of 7.5 on the Richter scale, making it one of the most powerful recorded quakes to strike Europe. In the quake's aftermath, towering waves, some estimated to be as high as 40 feet or 13 meters, pummeled the coasts of northern Sicily and southern Calabria. More than 80,000 people died in the disaster. The cities of Messina and Reggio Calabria were heavily damaged, and nearly all structures were reduced to rubble or severely damaged beyond repair. Many were forced to relocate to other Italian cities, while others sought refuge in distant lands, including the United States. Number 9. Lisbon, Portugal, November 1, 1755. On the morning of November 1, 1755, an earthquake shattered the tranquility of Lisbon, Portugal's capital city. With an estimated magnitude of 8.5 on the Richter scale, the earthquake struck at approximately 9:40 a.m. local time. The city of Lisbon was reduced to rubble, with most of its buildings completely destroyed. The initial earthquake was just the beginning of the horror. A massive tsunami was triggered, which surged into the city's harbor, adding further destruction to an already devastated landscape. As many as 70,000 souls, which was nearly a quarter of Lisbon's population, perished in the earthquake and its aftermath. In the face of such overwhelming devastation, King Joseph I and Portugal's Prime Minister, the Marquis of Pombal, rallied to rebuild their shattered city. Efforts to clear the debris lasted nearly a year as the city began the arduous process of reconstruction. The reconstruction effort was not just about rebuilding homes and streets. It was an opportunity to reimagine the cityscape. Urban planners envisioned a new Lisbon characterized by large squares, wide avenues, and meticulously planned streets. You might also want to note that the impact of the Lisbon earthquake extended far beyond the city's borders. It increased political tensions in Portugal and disrupted the Portuguese Empire. But perhaps most importantly, scientific study of the earthquake's effects laid the groundwork for modern seismology and earthquake engineering. Number 10. Sumatra, Indonesia, December 26, 2004. And lastly, we have the Sumatra Andaman earthquake, which occurred on December 26, 2004. The earthquake registered a staggering magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3 on the Richter scale. It struck off the west coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia, This event was triggered by a rupture along the fault between the Burma Plate and the Indian Plate. Now, this event triggered a tsunami, whose waves were reaching up to a towering 30 meters or 100 feet high. Known as the Boxing Day Tsunami, this wall of water crashed onto the shores of 14 countries across the Indian Ocean. An estimated 227,898 lives were lost, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. This earthquake was the most powerful ever recorded in Asia, the mightiest of the 21st century. Its seismic waves rippled across the globe, triggering earthquakes as far away as Alaska. The aftermath was a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, prompting a global outpouring of support. Donations totaled more than $14 billion, and the world rallied to aid the affected nations and their people. That's all for today's video, and thanks for watching it. Before you leave, make sure to subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, and don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss any updates. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.